Hello and welcome to Relationships at Work, the leadership podcast helping you build workplace connection, improve culture, and avoid blind spots. I'm your host, Russel Lolacher, communications, leadership expert, a couple of decades under my belt in both those areas. Whole heap of curiosity too, just like yourself, on how we can make the workplace a better place. It's mini episode time. Quick little bits of information, usually under about 10 minutes to help shift your mindset for the week ahead. Things to noodle, things to marinate on. I brought that one back the other day in a conversation. They're like, marinate? I'm like, yeah, I think that needs to be used more often. I'm sure that's just me. The focus this week, as I bring myself back into focus, it's the idea of focusing on values. Values, you know, those things we put on walls and ignore? Sorry, I don't mean to be cynical today. I'm trying to be hopeful. I'm trying to be positive. What we're getting into is focusing on values over feelings. We're far more focused on feelings than values. That's the quote. That's the quote that sat with me. It came from a divisive figure. I guess it depends on where you live. Divisive. I'm sure whoever prefers the other one is correcting me in their mind. A figure that is known as a professor, an author, entrepreneur. He co-hosts a podcast called Pivot. His name's Scott Galloway. It hit me like a tuning fork. Like it just sort of like made me vibrate a little bit around leadership, around, why are we focused on feelings over values? We prioritize values. We make such an effort to define them. Like I said and joked earlier, put them on a poster, put them on a website, let the world see them. And yet a lot of organizations are much more about feelings. This really hammered it home for me around leadership and our focuses, especially when we talk about what it really means to lead a team or shape a culture. It's not wrong to consider feelings. I should probably put that out first. It is not wrong, not at all. Emotions are part of how we show up, how we react, how we connect. But when feelings become the dominant lens through which decisions are made, without anchoring them in those values, we lose our footing. We shift from being guided to being swayed. And this isn't just a bad leadership problem, quote unquote. It's an untethered leadership problem. Too many organizations treat values as an HR slide deck, a poster in the break room. I keep saying the poster thing, right? A splashy page on the careers website. They're beautifully written. They always are. And almost entirely unaccounted for. Integrity, collaboration, innovation. These are the common ones. They're all noble ideas. But if your organization isn't defining them and then using them to evaluate behavior, prioritize work, and resolve tension, they aren't values. They're pretty decorations. Feelings aren't the problem, but they aren't really the map either. Now again, let's be clear, leading with empathy, emotional intelligence, compassion, that's not the issue. In fact, that's a non-negotiable in trust-driven leadership. If we're real leaders, we embrace that empathy, that emotional intelligence, that compassion. But when an entire workplace culture is shaped more by the avoidance of discomfort than the pursuit of values, we end up with confused teams because they're unclear about why decisions are made. Values can help with that. Inconsistent leadership. We're driven by how someone feels in the moment rather than what the organization stands for. We also end up with performative behavior. I've talked about this on the show before, even in a mini podcast, the difference between performative and performance. Performative behavior is where people say the right things to feel right rather than doing the right things. Feelings fluctuate. Values anchor us. When times are tough, values are what keep us from drifting into chaos or groupthink or fear-based decision-making. They aren't a luxury. Values aren't just, oh, that'd be nice to have in our organization. No values, we don't have time to do those workshops. Values are the instructions on how to be who we say we are. Values are one of the most important and effective communication tools I've ever seen because it shows who you are as an organization. It shows what you're aspiring to be, what you put into every day when they're done right. And as a prospective employee, a new employee or a prospective hire, wow. An organization that aligns with its values, that is gold. But if they're not, what are your values actually for? If you can't answer that, or if your team gives different answers when you ask them about these values, that's a big problem. Values are the operating system for your organization. They guide who you hire, who you promote, what behaviors are celebrated or not tolerated, how you navigate disagreement or uncertainty, what decisions are made when money, time, or energy are tight. And I know that's happening with a lot of organizations these days with these challenges. Values are who you are. They're character. It's your character as an organization. When we treat values as guiding principles rather than vague ideals, we create clarity for the organization, for the team, for those wanting to work with us. We get out of the trap of catering to every emotional reaction and start aligning people with a shared direction, because we all sing from the same song sheet. That doesn't mean ignoring how people feel. Again, it doesn't. It means putting feelings into context, a values-based context. If a team member feels frustrated by a process, the first question isn't, how do we fix the frustration? It's, is the process misaligned with our values? If it is, that's the priority. That's the problem. If it's not, then maybe the discomfort part is part of growth or change. Either way, values help us make decisions with integrity. So the question I'm posing today is, how can we ensure we make decisions and lead our teams based on values, not just feelings? The first thing we can do is create a values-based filter. Before any major decisions, ask, does this align with our stated values? Am I reinforcing a standard or reacting emotionally? Use the values as some sort of litmus test. I remember leading a team where I would literally put a question up on our whiteboard that says our promises, our values. So anytime a team member would come up with an idea or have a challenge, we'd immediately look at the board and go, does it fit this? Is it outside our scope? Does it align? How do we approach it based on these values, these characteristics of who we are? It is so helpful when we have those guardrails. Another thing we can do is tie recognition and feedback to values. Don't just say, great job. Say, you really showed our value of X when you did Y. This signals that values aren't abstract. They're how performance is measured. I remember talking on this podcast ages ago about how, I think it was Hershey's, actually rewards their staff with Hershey Bucks, and that they can use in some store within the organization if they exemplify values of the organization. Managers, supervisors get to reward them with these Nestle Bucks or Hershey Bucks or whatever. Can't remember which chocolate organization it is. Another thing we can do is integrate values into performance conversations. Make values part of your check-ins and evaluations. Not just what someone accomplished, but how they showed up. Again, it's not just the destination, it's the journey. That's where the leadership part exists. And if they didn't live up to the values, address it directly, respectfully, but without avoidance. Have the conversation right there and adjust, support. Move forward together based on those values. We can care about how people feel. We absolutely can. We absolutely should. We really should. But if we don't anchor that care to what we stand for, we're not leading, we're mood managing. Let's far more focus on values than those feelings. And that way we can demonstrate leadership that our teams can actually connect with and find clarity in. How is that for a bit of a reminder, mindset shift, nudge? I know I need them all the time. All the time when I'm in my leadership, I'm so busy. I need these reminders myself in order to go, you know what? I'm not putting enough energy or mental focus on this part of my leadership. And little nudges like these, some of them are very common sense, but sometimes we really need those nudges to make sure we're not we're not perfect. We know we need these little nudges to help us, to shift us a little bit. And that's what these mini episodes are for. So thank you once again to listening to Relationships at Work. This is the Leadership Podcast, helping you build workplace connection, improve culture, and avoid blind spots. I'm your host, Russel Lolacher. Always happy to be here and spend the time with you. Again, thank you for prioritizing your leadership development journey with me. I'm certainly on that journey too. Take care.